down and I'm going to play the
And away we go. And welcome in the Monday Night Edge with Dan Leach, powered by my great friends at BullRush. Couldn't be more excited because this is our first show with actual games that matter having happened and happening tonight. We've got a Monday Night Football game to preview tonight. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm also going to be joined in about 20 minutes by my man DJ from High Low Sports and Belly Up Sports. Looking forward to talking with him. He's the host of a great podcast, obviously a big sports guy, a long-suffering Colts fan, which I am a long-suffering Lions fan. How about the Colts yesterday, though? Getting that huge win. A lot of people, I will tell you, were on the other side of that game. They're like, the Dolphins are going to go in there. Colts have issues. 33-8. The Colts, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was under 3 minutes to play when the Dolphins scored and went for two. Daniel Jones was 22-29 for 272 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the home improvement running back, 18 carries for 71 yards. So fire up Colts. We'll talk to DJ about that and a bunch of other things. But most importantly, all of you, hope everyone had an incredible opening weekend of the NFL, obviously college football going on as well. This show, if you're joining for the first time, it's the best. Where have you been? But we love this to be fully interactive. So if you've got things, questions, comments, no threats though, but any questions or comments, whatever platform you're on, throw them on there. I will get them and try to get to them the best I can. But I just want to start with this. I'm going to get to what might have been the greatest opening week game in the long history of the NFL in a minute, that unfortunately is just an absolute gut punch and knife to the chest for my fine producer and genius wizard of the world, Davonshire, who's a big, big Ravens fan. By the way, it's one game. I'm a Lions fan. I'm not that freaked out. I don't want to hear about, Ben Johnson, he's gone. The Lions are going to suck. Dan Campbell is guaranteed win. A la Jerry, I'm trying to forget what it was. The Lions guaranteed a win against the playoffs against Philly. That worked out so well. Or Rasheed Wallace, obviously, for the Pistons. The Lions will be fine. I'll be covering that game at Ford Field on Sunday. But how about the Survivor contest that we've talked about on this show? If you didn't sign up, I don't know why you didn't. It's such a cool concept because for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you here. I've explained that a lot of people watching this show and that love football know what a Survivor contest is. You pick one team, you can only use that team once a year, and you keep surviving. You might have multiple entries in a certain, specific Survivor pool, but you keep going until you're out. Well, BullRush turns it on its head, and it's a Survivor pool based on betting. And you can take, you have $100,000 each week. You make a minimum 2 bets that you have to make, or you can make 5,000 bets. Doesn't matter, whatever you want. You take 50 grand of your 100K and put it on the lines. 100 grand, $199,999 of your 100,000, and then put it on the Dolphins, and you would have lost. And then $1 on something else, or you could do like 50,000 parlays. It's all up to you. And if you're in the top 80%, you advance to the next week. Now, the regular registration for this was over, a few days back before the regular season started. But, and we're going to talk about this a little more later on, you can get into, if you're a poker player like I am, you'll know what a satellite tournament is. If you play poker, let's say you want to try to get to the World Series of Poker, but you don't have the money to buy it for $10,000 to the main event, you can get in through what's called a satellite. Satellite, there's your Dave Matthews reset. This was in the mood of 6 Dave Matthews. You get into a satellite at a much lower price point. Like sometimes satellites are free. And if you keep advancing, you get in, you get the $10,000 after maybe winning 2 or 3 different satellites. It could be $100, whatever it is. So for now, this coming week, there's a $20 Survivor satellite, and the top 10 get a free entry into the next round of the $100,000 NFL Survivor on BullRush. So check that out at BullRush.com. You also can use that code EDGE for a $5 sign-up bonus. So you're going to save $5 on that. But that's really cool. And shout out to my man Vixa he's in first place right now, or she's in first place. I don't know if Vixa's a boy or a girl. 430% return of investment. That's going to get you in first place. Teofil is in second, 382% return of investment. And then I like how this person, I'm guessing it's a guy, spelled mastermind, MA5T3RM1ND. I think I would have used, I guess the 5 is fine. But great mastermind's this great guy in America's Got Talent, this crazy magician guy. Those are your top 3. And just so you know, if you make it to week 20, and everyone that wins a week throughout the year, 1 through 19, automatically gets to week 20, and they get $200. So you're already getting double what you spent on to get in the contest, if not more. If you finish it first in week 20, you win $50,000, $50K. Right now, there's you have a very, very good chance of having a shot at that if you keep advancing. Second is 20 grand, and third is 10 grand. So very, very excited for the Survivor to lift off. I'm going to have some picks for you for the coming week 2 later in the show as well. I just got back from NYC, obviously the greatest city in the world. Went to see one of my favorite bands, Oasis, with my best friend Brad Schneider Amos. We made anyone fancy some lasagna shirts, which if you're an Oasis fan, you know what that means. If you're not, just look it up. Went to the U.S. Open for the first time in my life. And as a longtime sports broadcaster, it was a bucket list event for me. I still can't believe I'd never been. But I got to see the greatest of all time, even though I'm a Federer guy. Djokovic right now is the greatest of all time. I mean, so is Federer in his own right, and so is Nadal on clay in his own right. But I got to see Djokovic beat Fritz, who I really thought was going to win, the big Fritz guy. And it was awesome. The U.S. Open at night, I walked in, lights were out, there was a DJ spinning. It was like an EDM rave. It was unbelievable. I had great seats I wasn't in center court, as far as row 2, but I was back, center court view. Crowd was amazing. Met so many people. The vibe is so great. It was easy to get there from downtown. It took about 50 minutes, but I easily got on the different trains I needed to, 2 different trains. New York's so easy to get around. I mean, obviously people that have been there know that. Just one of my favorite things that I've ever done. Really, really, really cool. And I had a great time with my friend. Great Chinese food, sushi, this legendary pizza from Joe's that was featured in Spider-Man. And we got some dim sum at the Dim Sum Palace. Just a hell of a night, a hell of a trip, and loved it. But back here with you, and how great was it to have football back, and how great was last night's Ravens-Bills game. Now, I'm sorry for Davonshire to, kind of break his heart again, but I got a stat for you, and I think this is hilarious. Well, I mean, maybe hilarious is the wrong word, but when you look at crazy things to happen in sports like football, baseball's been around for almost 200 years. You'll see things that have never happened before, which I think is crazy. Happens all the time. Perfect innings, perfect games, but just with 1 run scored, or a team scored, with 3 walks on one side. There's things that happen sometimes that have never happened before. Football, you have some stuff that hasn't been around as long, but it's still tough to have something like this happen. So, we'll get to the game in a second, because I do have a question that I want to throw out there. Was that the greatest opening week game ever? I think it probably was. I mean, I wasn't alive in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Those games were on TV anyway. A lot of times you're taking trains to see those games. But this, to me, definitely the greatest Sunday night game ever to open a season. But just unbelievable gobble monsters. But if you're a Ravens fan, quote them nevermore. You're like, okay, Derrick Henry has 700 yards. Lamar Jackson played amazing. Zay Flowers was absurd. The one-handed grab, that I would say was probably, we'll talk about another one-handed grab in a minute here, for a different team. That might have been the best career touchdown ever. But that one-handed grab by DeAndre Hopkins was ridiculous to make it 34-19 Buffalo. And I never give up on games. I had a big bet on Buffalo money line. I gave it out. I was earlier in the day. I was in a VIP room watching, not to brag or anything, but I brought a friend of mine who's a big Broncos sycophantic idiot because I'm a longtime Lions fan. He lives in Detroit. He's a big Broncos fan. So I took him to this nice VIP room with some food, and we watched some games. And, it was one of those things where, it's week one of the NFL. There's so much on the table. And there was people in there was a sports book that were betting. One guy came up to me. He's like, "What about tonight?" I'm like, I have a big plan. The Bills. He would have bet 50,000 on the Bills. I'm like, okay, it'd be nice if I could just go. Hey, so what do you think, Johnny Fitzgibbons? What do you think about the Dolphins game today? Yeah, I really like the Colts. All right, give me $100,000 on the Colts. It's ridiculous. So I bet, but I don't have that kind of money. So I was big on the Bills, and I don't give up on games because you've seen obviously crazy things. But I was basically I was kind of going back and forth between that and like some old WWE like finest moments shows. I had to catch up on some shows that I taped when I was gone in New York for about 5 days. And next thing I know, I turned it back because I was still going to watch the game. I wasn't going to just turn it off. But I turned it back and they cut it to 40-32. And then they cut it to 40-38. And they missed 2-point conversions earlier. The game would have been tied. And then, of course, former Lion, former Bronco, I'm bringing it all back together, Matt Prater, who wasn't even supposed to be, he wasn't in a camp with the team. He was working out in Phoenix in a high school, kicks the 32-yarder to end all 32-yarders around the world to walk it off 41-40. If you're a Ravens fan, I feel for you. If you're a Bills fan, I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Bills and Commanders was I gave this out to you guys throughout the first few weeks of the show. There's a long way to go. Excuse me. There's a long way to go, but boy, those two teams are going to be there at the end in one way or the other, one shape or fashion. They're just Josh Allen and the Bills are so good. Lamar and the Ravens and the way John Harbaugh coaches them, they are just so incredibly good. That was, I think, the greatest opening week game in the history of the NFL, at least the modern history. By the way, Kyle Siebert audio. Is there any Kyle Siebert video? I like to go with the video. It said double stacked Allen with Shakir and Coleman. I was down bad. Now I'm up 15. And I have the Bears defense. I think maybe he's Canadian. He spelled defense DEFENC. It's very Canadian. And my opponent is Jefferson. Do you think I win? Thanks. All right, so you're down 15 points. And he's got Jefferson. It's all based on the scoring. I think I'm going to be honest with you. I'm always going to be honest on the show as much as I love all of you. I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff if I think one way or the other because I don't want to make someone feel bad. I think Jefferson's going to have a huge night tonight with J.J. McCarthy. They've had a great rapport in training camp from all my friends that I know that cover the Vikings. But based on your scoring, you could avoid the 15. If Jefferson doesn't score any touchdowns, you have a great chance. But I think he's going to score a touchdown, have 90 to 100 yards, bunch of receptions. So it's all based on your scoring. But listen, put it this way. It's house money. You should have been dead. You're not. Just like my bet should have been dead. It wasn't. So let's root them in. Sports Picker 5. We're going to get to the Bears and the Vikings game later in the show. I'm always going to – now listen, once again, full transparency. Just because there's a game tonight doesn't mean I love the game as far as the side or the total. Tonight, I love the game. We'll get to that in a little later in the show before we sign off. I'll always give the pick, later in the show around 6:40 or so. It's called the tease in the business, Sports Picker. But I'll tell you this, just because you're watching right now, the Bears are not the side that I like. So take from that where you will. But I think it's going to be a good game, and I believe that Caleb Williams is going to be a very, very good quarterback. It's the first game for a brand new head coach. Yes, it's Ben Johnson. No, there's no hate because he was the former Lions coordinator and, moved on from us. He deserves to have head coach job. Dan Campbell said that, and I totally agree with him. But I will tell you, I think there's going to be some struggles early on, even though they destroyed the Bills in the preseason. Who cares? I think there's going to be some struggles early on for Chicago. And then eventually they'll be a much better team towards the end of the year. Happens a lot with the new head coach. But We'll get to the kind of my reasoning for the pick later. David saying that was painful for the Ravens. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, and Kyle saying he's up 15, and you have the defense, Canadian style. You have what defense? Oh, Bears defense. Yeah, I think you got a great chance. I mean, even if Jefferson and the Vikes have a good night, you still could get an interception. You could get big return yards. So I think that you definitely have a great chance. I'm sorry, I didn't read that correctly. So you have the Bears defense, Canadian style, and you have your opponent as Jefferson. You definitely have a shot. You got a shot. Big Draft Energy saying, I love BullRush. We love you, and I miss you, BDE. Hope you're well as well. We'll have you on the show sometime soon. All right, so throw, if you believe, in the comments that was the greatest opening week game that you've ever seen. It's definitely the greatest opening week game I've ever seen. There's been some good ones, but the biggest thing out of that is football is back. Games that matter. We got a Monday night game tonight. We're going to start having Thursday night games. It's just the best time of year. I call a high school football game of the week on Friday nights. Then I'm either in Ann Arbor or watching a game in a bar with my friends and family for the Wolverines. And then Sunday, obviously, we got the NFL. Monday, we have the show. It's just awesome. So another thing I did want to bring up is my Detroit Lions, because at this party I was at yesterday, watching all the games, that was the question that was brought up literally by like all these people that know me, that know that I do radio and TV stuff. Are we going to miss Ben Johnson? Is it Ben Johnson's fault that we sucked yesterday? Is it Ben Johnson's fault the Lions play calling was terrible? Is it Ben Johnson's fault that Jared Goff didn't know what he was doing half the time? Which wasn't true. Jared Goff looked fine in the first half. The Lions definitely were sluggish. It's way too early to know that. But I will tell you this, Green Bay's really good. Micah Parsons already has an impact. They already love him there. He was questionable earlier in the week. He played. He sacked Jared Goff. The Lions looked a step slow in so many different ways. But the Lions are very talented. And this is the 5th year of Dan Campbell. 2 years ago, they probably should have gone to the Super Bowl when they lost to San Fran after being up big in the first half of the NFC title game. Last year, they should not have lost at home to Washington. But that was the one team, aside from obviously Philly, who would have been in that round anyway, at least at Ford Field. That was the only team I was scared of that entire round. And I basically said the Lions are going to maybe win by a point or two when they were like a big favorite. So I wasn't shocked. I was frustrating because I'm a big Lions fan, but I cover the team. So I have to obviously be, I've got to be someone that is, not, I got to be objective, not subjective. And the Lions should be fine. But if they lose it over to Chicago this coming Sunday, then there's going to be a lot of Lions fans going crazy, calling sports radio, tweeting at me. But one good thing to come out of that game was Isaac Tesla, the rookie tight end. If you didn't see it, look it up. Maybe the greatest first career touchdown you will ever see. A one-handed grab in the end zone. At first, they called it incomplete. Review looked at it. Touchdown. Didn't matter. It just, gave the Lions a little bit of momentum after looking awful for much of that game. It made the score a little closer, but the Lions were basically blasted in the second half. The final score ended up being 27-13. But look up that Isaac Tesla catch. He was one of the 3 studs. I did some reports on the Lions during training camp because I covered the team. He was one of the 3 studs that stood out to me at training camp. And you saw it there, him along with Sam Laporta. The Lions ended up having the best tight end core in all of football. I think Jared Goff's going to fall in love with this guy. If you haven't seen that catch, check it out. Also, speaking of rookies, how about Cam Ward? If he wasn't a rookie, if the Titans were a little better of a team, they would have beaten heavily favored Denver. Denver was the biggest favorite of the week, a 9.5-point favorite. I was all over Tennessee. Luckily, I got him at 8.5. There was 7.5. There was 8.5. Game closed at 9.5. Titans plus 9.5 in some places. So obviously, hopefully you took, a spread that covered it for you because they lost by 8. But I also teased it or did an alt spread in a couple of parlays up to 14.5, which I felt really good about. I think that Cam Ward, for being in Denver against one of the better defenses in football, first ever game on the road, looked pretty darn good. He was only 12-28 for a $112, a quarterback rating of 54. But how about Bo Nix? Quarterback rating of 60. Bo Nix looked awful. He was 20-5-40 for 176, a touchdown and 2 picks. Much of those yards came late in the game. The Broncos were, I would have loved to make fun of my friend, Baby Dave Rieger. They were very lucky to win that game. If he wasn't a rookie, if he was someone like a CJ Stroud or even Jaden Daniels now in his second year, I think Tennessee would have won that game, but the Titans don't have a great team. That's why they had the overall number 1 pick. I think Denver, and I gave this on this show, the under 8.5 wins. I think the under is not just in play, but that you're going to start seeing some heavy juice on the under if Denver, who has a pretty tough schedule to start this year, they play at Indianapolis, and they're going to lose that game next week. That's one of my picks later in the show. At the Chargers, who already beat Kansas City on a neutral field, home against the Bengals, at the Eagles. That's their first 5 weeks. They could be 2-3, if not worse. And people have the Broncos going to the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. They're not that good. Bo Nix, look, like I said, even my friend is he's pretty fair. He's not a slap. Well, he's a slap, but he's pretty fair for the most of the time when it comes to, what the Broncos are doing or not doing. He thought Bo Nix was awful yesterday. Embarrassing performance for a guy that people have on their radar as being one of the better quarterbacks emerging in the NFL. All right, there's some more games I want to get to, but I want to bring on my man DJ here in a minute. We'll get to some more of these games to recap, plus my picks coming up for week number 2. We've got a new segment called Squatches, same game, Monday Night Football Parlay. It's new because we haven't had a Monday Night Football game to give a same game parlay out until obviously now because the season has started. So we'll get to that later in the show as well. But coming up after this, I'll be joined by DJ from High Low Sports and Belly Up Sports. Looking forward to that. Check this out.
This isn't fantasy football, it's real competition. Welcome to the NFL Survivor Tournament. You versus the field. $100 to enter, $100,000 in total prizes, $50K to the winner. Start each week with a $100K bankroll. Pick games, win returns. Top 80% survive. Bottom 20%, you're out. Bankroll resets weekly, no carryover. 20 weeks, 100K. Will you take home the cash? Sign up, lock in, and let's see if you've got the guts to survive.
Do you have the guts to survive? We'll find that out, but DJ definitely does. Follow him at high_low_sports, host of High Low Sports and Belly Up Sports podcast. DJ, welcome in to the Monday Night Edge with Dan Leach. It's a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm glad to see we're on the same page with Denver. I also had them at about that 7 win marks when we did our preseason predictions. So I'm glad we're on the same page here. We don't have to have any AFC West beef out of the gate. We're right on the same page.
You never won. You're going to love me anyway, even if you didn't. By the way, why did you have to copy my shirt? I mean, you didn't have to wear the same shirt.
I thought it was Twinning Mondays. I thought we had a dress.
It is. I'm kidding because it's such an amazing shirt. So is this hat. My neck hurts, so I had to turn it backwards for now. DJ, let's just start off by this because I know you're a long-suffering Colts fan, much like I am a long-suffering Lions fan. I thought people, well, I don't want to say crazy, but I thought the people that were like, oh my God, the Dolphins are such easy money tomorrow. I thought they were nuts. Tua is terrible right now. The Dolphins are not a good team. McDaniel is completely, I feel like, lost the trust of that squad. The Colts have so much talent on offense. I love what they're doing on defense. Were you nervous about that game yesterday? Because I wasn't. I was all over the Colts.
I'm not gonna lie. I was picking the Dolphins in that one for no other reason than history told us the Colts haven't won a week 1 game since 2013 when Andrew Luck was a young spry chicken, still Similac behind his ears, fresh in the league. It's been so long since they've won a week 1 game. I expected the Dolphins to be not great this year, but I didn't expect the bottom to fall out less than 13 minutes into the entire season. I expected this to be like a slow burn, but they immediately out of the gate fell apart. Offensively, you mentioned Tua looked lost. He was running in circles, throwing interceptions to guys wearing numbers in the 90s. Offensively, that's the best game Daniel Jones has played since high school. I don't even think he ever had a game like that against Duke. Tyler Warren's the real deal. That was the most surefire pick in the draft. Arguably, was Tyler Warren was going to be good. That they might be dangerous. They made Daniel Jones look like Indiana Jones. I was prepared for the tank this year, but that was incredible. I was very surprised. I thought Dolphins +1.5 underdogs. The streak, everything going into it, but they proved me wrong. That was kudos to the Colts. That was the best game they played in a long time as a team.
They make Daniel Jones look like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's a very important, differential there because, listen, I think Daniel Jones. I love Anthony Richardson. I really do, and I'm sure you in your way do as well. He's got to stay healthy, but to have a guy like Daniel Jones, who obviously started at a high level at times. When I say high level, at least for the Giants. They played some tough games. I think if you guys stay healthy on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned Warren. Obviously, Pittman had a huge game. By the way, why does Josh Downs have to cost me like $700 because he had 2 catches? All I needed was 5 catches. Come on, DJ. Can you call him for me and just say, listen, maybe a few more next week?
I'm on it. Trust me. I'm with you on that one. He's my guy. And then this is what we get. Like, that's my favorite guy on the receiving core.
I thought it was a great play. But my point is that I think that's an exciting Colts team. I think they're undervalued. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think they have a chance to be exciting, a lot better than people thought. And back to the thing you brought up about Tua, it's sad to me, DJ, because I think the concussions have already ended his career. I think that he is not the same quarterback he was 2 years ago, definitely not the same quarterback he was in Alabama. And I think that eventually, sadly, he's going to have to retire because I don't think he's ever – I think that we need to take this stuff more seriously. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox or anything, but I think that these concussions have completely taken away his confidence and his ability to process information at a high level. It's just tough to see.
Absolutely, especially for a guy who's so reliant on anticipation, getting the ball out, knowing the offense, knowing where all 22 guys are on the field offensively and defensively. If you're a second off like that, he's not a freakish alien type quarterback. We see Josh Allen. If he doesn't like it immediately, he'll make 6 guys miss and throw it 90 yards off his back foot with his eyes closed. Yep. He was not necessarily doing that. So I think he needs to have his full mental wherewithal going. It kind of reminds me of when we remember young Carson Wentz, like walk it to him, all the fun nicknames he had. And then Jadeveon Clowney bounces his head off the canvas with the back of his head, scrambles his brains. Has not been the same since. It almost feels similarly like after those concussions, now Tua is a step behind and it's really starting to hurt him. So I agree with you. Do you throw in Zach Wilson? I guess is that much better. I don't know what they do from here. Maybe Quinn Ewers. We see that sighting. It's not looking good in Miami though. That thing's going to blow up.
Sorry to interrupt. What they probably do from here is fire Mike McDonald. They retool the whole team. By the way, DJ joining us here. Pleasure having you from I Love Sports and Belly on Sports. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about what you do, your podcast, in a second here. But I wanted to throw this to you. I know on your latest podcast you preview the NFC and AFC East. What do you think surprised you the most for week 1? And what team do you think is already kind of defying any preseason expectations you had so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course, the Bills are the Bills, so I won't spend much time on that. They're awesome. We all knew they were going to be awesome. It's death taxes. They're awesome, so we'll skip that one. The Dolphins falling out, as I mentioned, I had them, I think, at 6 wins for the preview. Now I'm worried that I think we're hitting the under on that, at how that one looked week 1. Like that bottom fell out real quick. I think the Jets were a little bit better than I thought they would be, at least offensively. Like I thought they would win some games defensively. Justin Fields runs a little, makes a play here there. I didn't expect him to drop 30 out of the gate, and Justin Fields looked like he's playing at Ohio State, so they kind of surprised me. Defensively, they surprised me for the worse. I didn't expect 400-year-old Aaron Rodgers to tear apart. It is week 1, so I'm going to try not to overreact to that one. The Patriots disappointed just a touch because they were everybody's preseason darling. They're here they come, worst to first or worst to second best because the Bills are in the way. They're going to the playoffs. They're so back. Their win total was, I think, 8.5. I thought that was a little bit high for a team that just picked.
I thought it was way high.
And you drafted an offensive tackle, and that was about it. Some good. I like TreVeyon Henderson. Love TreVeyon Henderson. Don't think he's flipping you from 4 wins to 10. So I thought that was a little bit. And in the NFC East, I picked the Cowboys to win 10 games. Then they traded Micah Parsons right after I said that on a live published airway. So I was kind of regretting it immediately. But I think it's still
not your fault. Not your fault.
I think it's still in play. If somebody like Donovan Azaraku could just occasionally wrap up the quarterback and just occasionally at least put 2 hands on him, and then someone else puts 2 hands on him so they can get what could count as a sack right there. So I think the offense looks good. Dak's, I think, still going to Dak. When he's healthy, he's a guaranteed 4,000 yards, it feels like, as long as he's healthy. So I think the biggest surprise to me was the Jets offensively for good and their defense for bad. They got carved up. Defensively, they did not look good out there. Like they were behind. People were running wide open. Especially with Aaron Glenn as the head coach. Sauce Gardner out there. Like that was a little bit surprising that they got carved up so easily on defense.
Yeah. To your point about Dallas, too, I mean, I think Dallas definitely played a lot better against Philly than I thought they would in that first game, but I think Dallas is going to be behind the 8 ball a lot this year, and Dak's going to throw for a lot of freaking yards. So, like you said, 4,000 plus probably. I drafted him as a backup in fantasy, and I hate Dak. I don't hate him as a person. I think there's no value in having Dak Prescott as your fantasy quarterback, but he produces. So, I mean, obviously, he's only going to be in there where Jay Daniels isn't, but it's one of those things where I think they're going to be throwing a lot. It'll be good for yardage props if you're betting on that. And the Cowboys will score. They probably will score a lot of points because they're probably going to be down so much. I know something else that I thought. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, DJ.
I'll say they're Bengals Southwest. You're gonna get that's why I grabbed him and CD for a stack, and boy, was it looking good for a little bit there. Then CD had the drops in the fourth quarter and left me 20 points on the board. I'm like, please don't do that again. I don't think I can escape that every week.
No, so no one wants to escape that kind of stuff every week either. I know you talked a lot about on that podcast about a Ravens division repeat, which I mean, why wouldn't you? But also Myles Garrett sack prop when you did your North preview. Based on what we saw, listen, like I said earlier in the show about the Lions, about the Bills-Ravens game. It's 1 week. It's one game. The NFL has 17 games for a reason. I know it's cliche. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but you can learn things based on a week. Obviously, if you want to give the baseball analogy, every 4 games is like a fourth of a season. In baseball it would be 40 games, and in football it's 4 games. So, when you get to the quarter pull, it's one thing, but you can start to see some stuff, usage rates, how guys are looking coming off injuries, etc. Based on that, and obviously, I'm not going to tell you what I think you're going to say, but it's one game as far as the Ravens division stuff goes. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL. Are you going to change any course on that? What about Myles Garrett sack prop as well?
We're going to stick with the Ravens for now. I think the Browns and the Bengals was a hideous display of what could be considered Ohio football, I guess. I mean, not even Ohio State was cringing at that one. You gave up 7 yards in the second half and found a way to lose if you're the Browns. Like, that's a special brand that's Cleveland Browns to a T, unfortunately, especially in the last 3 years of what they've been going through. And then the Bengals, we just mentioned, when they could put up points in bunches, it'll be great, but I'm worried about their ability to do that consistently when they play the Ravens. Like, let's say Joe Burrow throws for 350 and 3 touchdowns. What's going to happen when you let Lamar throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns? I don't think they're going to be able to balance out when they play a team that's more competent, as we'll put it politely. So I'm going to stick with the Ravens and the Steelers. They do this every year. They get us going in September and October a little bit. We get juice. They're 7-3 like last year. Then they end up as the 7th seed, or something. They still end up above 500. Mike Tomlin, that's his thing. He'll find a way. When we did the predictions, I put him at 8-1 just because I couldn't figure out what to do with him. So I forced a tie in there for fun. So I think it'll still be the Ravens. I think it's their division. They might lose this next week. A little bit of fallout after Josh Allen putting on the Superman cape, like they did last year. Start 0-2, randomly beat a good team, and then they're off to the races. I feel like that's their shtick at this point. Almost they've tried to balance out the late season losses by getting them out of the way early. They're a weird team, so I'm still holding faith in them. Myles Garrett sack prop, I will hammer that today, tomorrow, yesterday, the day after. They said it at 12.5 when he's had 14 for 3 consecutive years with nobody there helping him there. At this point, not even speeding tickets are slowing him down. So I'm hammering that one today. Even if it goes up to 14.5, I'm considering taking it because he seems like a lock with that sack prop. He got 2 of them yesterday.
Yeah,
you got the Bengals again. And you got the Bengals again, so we'll count that for 2 more just because the Bengals. So you're telling me he only needs to get 8 in the other 15 games? Yeah, we feel good about that.
By the way, Sheffel Nobby is asking us if we're answering questions. Absolutely. If you got a question, I'll throw it out there to my man DJ. I will throw this to you first, and I got a couple more for you on stuff that you've been talking about yourself recently. By the way, I love your gamer chair. I think I need to steal that from you. It's pretty sick. I just have like just a regular. I mean, I could swivel around and stuff, but it's not as sweet as your gaming chair. Speaking of that question with Sports Picker 5, by the way, is Sports Picker 1, 2, and 3, and 4 not as cool? Mm-hmm. Is 5 the coolest? I'm going to go to you first on this about Travis Hunter's first game. I mean, I was super impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the expectations were not super high, but they weren't. I didn't have them too super high just because when you're going to be playing both sides like that, and it's a kind of a weird game with Carolina where they're not good, but they're scrappy. I thought he's fine. I mean, 6 catches for 33 yards. That's good. You get the ball in his hands. You give him a chance to get acclimated to it. That's kind of how you want to use him. He's so dynamic with the ball in his hands. That's where he's really special. Let him terrorize secondary guys in the open space, open up Brian Thomas out down the field. So I thought offensively, I really liked it. Defensively, it was fine. Like I still think he needs to do spot duty on whatever one he's not going to major in, for lack of a better terms. Whatever his minor is, I want to see him in spot duty, which it looks like it'll be defense. So I think he's fine. Let him play a little zone corners. Let him use those ball skills. He's a receiver playing DB. Let him utilize that. I don't need him trying to tackle Derrick Henry one-on-one in open field or anything like that. Like, I want to avoid any of those situations if I can.
That's perfectly said. And to me, I mean, like you mentioned the catches for 33 yards and what he did on defense as well. And the Jags just absolutely dominated a Carolina team that I don't know why people think is going to be so much better this year. I like Bryce Young. I like Carolina. Hubbard, they got some talent there, but they're not going to be this like 9-10 win team like I've seen some people predict. To me, even though it wasn't like he was dominating in the game, Travis Hunter, as you kind of alluded to, is such an athlete. He is such a special, rare breed where he legitimately, it's like, I'm not going to compare it to Shohei Ohtani, But the fact that Ohtani can be like an all-star pitcher and an all-star batter is so rare in today's baseball. Hunter is going to play both sides of the ball at a very high all-pro type level, I think, eventually in his career. That, to me, and you saw flashes of it yesterday on both sides of the ball. Think about this guy in 2-3 years from now, after getting seasoned in the NFL, DJ, playing a bunch of, going through a bunch of camps, understanding what it takes to prepare and watch film. These guys watch, hundreds of hours of film. He is going to be really, really special. I think he already is, but he'll be special in the NFL.
Absolutely. I almost wonder too, me and my co-host have talked about this. I almost feel like him at safety might not even be a bad option either, because you get to let him just kind of play that deep center field in the cover 3 and just let him go play receiver, because he's going to moss some guys out there to go get interceptions. And I still don't want him in that island tackling guys. Like, imagine, all right, you go tackle Derrick Henry, then on the other side, you have to go cover Zay Flat, then you have to go try and get crushed by Kyle Hamilton over the middle. So, like, there's some situations where I want to see the spot duty where you can truly show off those skills you mentioned, because he does so much well. And it's his first game with the short haircut too. So I think once he gets used to that, he's going to be even more dynamic. Like, there's a lot to like, and that division stinks. So he's going to make a lot of plays in that division.
Some people say it's got to be the shoes. I think it's got to be the hair. By the way, Sheffel Nobby will, now we're getting into fantasy. Well, I'll throw it up. You know what? If you want to answer this, DJ, you're a genius. I'll let you do it. He says on his trade Mixon for Javonte Williams. I didn't really want to go into fantasy questions, but why not? We were going to do that later. How are we feeling? I'll start here. I like Javonte Williams. I don't trust him. I don't trust Joe Mixon either. So it's kind of, to me, maybe this guy's better at cooking pasta. So I'll maybe stay a chef, because I think either way, it doesn't really matter. That's my opinion.
I don't really love either one either, but I have a special dislike for Joe Mixon. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the yellow flag on the guy for actually giving you Javonte Williams after he just scored 2 touchdowns. I don't think either one has a high upside, but you're telling me a starting running back for the Cowboys that's going to throw the ball with a wall of Tylers in front of him. I'll take that over a very injury-prone Mixon. And they had their issues against the Rams wasn't running the ball. Like, we saw Nick Chubb and Damian Pierce and those guys, they could still get it done. I think it's going to be a lot more of a committee there, where the Cowboys, I don't think they really care who's playing running back. After Miles Sanders fumbled and got tracked down from behind, I think he's on a very short leash. So I like Javonte there.
Yeah, by the way, Shovel Nobby, you asked us a question. We answered it. Now you're like, I'll take it. Well, don't ask the question. If you don't want our comments, then don't ask the question. We love you, Shovel Nobby. All right, listen, got a couple minutes left here. DJ, thanks so much for joining me. Can't wait to have you on again. But there's a couple things I wanted to get your thoughts on. You've had some great thoughts and insights on betting inefficiencies and preseason picks. How, like, for the people that are watching, I think this is really important. How are you leveraging early season market biases, overreactions? Like I said, people tune into the Broncos, tune into the Panthers, to kind of look at betting trends for this first 2, 3, 4 week period of the season.
It's the hardest time to bet, but it can also be the weirdest time where you can make a lot of money, because while we don't know as much, the odds makers don't quite know as much either. Sometimes they'll see they're kind of going off a little bit last year. Like right now, they haven't even played yet, and the Vikings are already a 4.5 favorite over the Falcons next week. I'm looking at that. Like, if the Vikings look like poop tonight, if Caleb Williams tears them apart, I'm going to immediately go throw some money at the Falcons, because they were Young Wei Koo hitting a chip shot field goal away from going to overtime with Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay is an underdog. Same vein, they're underdogs against Houston, who just lost. It's like, okay, how are we doing this now? So I'm looking at that. I'm trying to go with, I think early you feel with your gut, like what you saw coming into the year. I know, like, for example, Daniel Jones was electric this last week. His over-under passing yards might be set at, like, let's say 210, 215, something like that after what he did. I'm not going to take that over when we see Denver's defense coming to town, because even though Bo Nix we coined it the Bo Nix experience, because my co-host is an Auburn fan, has seen all the highs and lows that come with that. I am going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay away from his overprop with Denver's defense, for example. So I think you kind of got to trust your gut a little bit, and at the same time, trust what your eyes tell you. Like we agreed, Denver won, but Bo Nix did not look like Bo Nix. The Colts won, but that was also a lot of Miami. Oh boy, that is a catastrophe. So let's reel it in just a little bit. So I think trust your eyes and your guts a little bit early.
DJ, I think you brought up such a brilliant point there, and it's something that people like you and I that obviously, host shows and have been wagering for a while or look at this stuff analytically. Not to say that I'm even close to as smart as you. I might be as good looking as you, but I'm not as smart as you.
But don't sell yourself short. Better looking.
Listen, we're twinning. We're both 10s.
So stronger.
I did get hit on by a lot of girls in New York, surprisingly, at my older age. So I'm happy with that. But I'll tell you this: it's very important. That's what another very important part of this show is for me obviously, aside from talking to great people like you and giving out picks and, talking about the great, partnership we have with BullRush and crazy stuff happening in the NFL, like that Bills-Ravens game, that I want to educate people, because we have a lot of people that are just that are really like super connected and into betting or fantasy like we are. We have people that are super new to it, and we have people that want to be better at it. And I think that it's so, as you know, DJ, you do a great job with this on your various podcasts. It's so important to educate because obviously I pick up stuff from people as well, but I've been doing this for a long time, as you have as well. Knowing that there are going to be overreactions, especially early in the season, like you mentioned, Daniel Jones, perfect example, or maybe even Josh Allen or Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry might be a bad example because he's so good that he probably gets 100 yards every week. I mean, I would have had 1,900 yards last season or whatever it was. But my point is that you've got to be careful. If that means instead of taking, Josh Downs over 4.5, you take the alt receptions down to 3. You got to be careful because sometimes the lines and the odds makers understand what it means to be someone that follows this stuff on social media or watches the games or reads the different articles that are written by AI. This guy's going to continue to go crazy. You got to be very careful, DJ, because I think that it really hurts people's abilities to be profitable when they're, Daniel Jones was so good this last week. He's going to keep that going. What if the matchup is bad? What if people don't realize he gets, tweaks an ankle in practice? I don't want to try to tell people to like study for hours and hours. You got to be careful, and you got to be focused on what you're looking at, because overreactions can kill your profitability.
I love how you mentioned the alt bets. Those are your best friends, I think. Like, let's say the alt's at 6.5, but you don't love that. You're like, I don't know if they can quite go. Then go pick 7.5 if you think that they're only going to lose by a touchdown. Go give yourself that little bonus. Do you lose $3 on the winning? Oh darn! Instead of minus 110, it's minus 127 or whatever it might be. Okay, it's better than losing. So I think the alts are always your friend, especially receptions. The amount of times I see somebody get 4 receptions when I need 5, and then they twist their ankle, it makes me want to headbutt a wall when I really would have rather have just had 3.5 every single time. So I think the alts are your friend, especially early on, especially because the odds aren't always that dramatic. I think you're not going to see the 4 and the 3.5 be like minus 300 and then plus 200. It's not going to be that big of a steep. So it's better to win a little bit less than to lose it all. So I love how you said that the alts are a big favorite.
And let's be honest, you call them sports traders, odds makers, whatever, they have different names now. They're pretty damn good when you see how close totals are, how close point spreads are. There's a reason, and a lot of times they're using algorithms and computer programs and AI, whatever. But that, like you said, the alts are your friends because they are so good, and it's worth taking a little less profit instead of killing a parlay or killing a bet. Or the other side of that, DJ, as you well know, for example, I mean, not to brag, it's only one of the few bets I won yesterday. It was a weird week, one up and down. I took Trey bets at 60 yards. It was like, at first it was 10-1. I think it closed at 8-1. If you love a guy, take his alts up to, if his over-under catches is 4, and you're like, he's going to have a 10-catch game, 20-1. Do that too. They can be your friend the other way, where you got to be careful sometimes to not try to reach for stuff. But then other times you might love a guy, take a shot, get a 10-20-1, and you feel good about yourself. And you can buy yourself a gaming chair like DJ has.
Exactly. Sam's Club clearance never can go wrong. And I love it. Trust your guy. It's in fantasy. Don't let ADP rule your life in the same way. If you like a guy like Travis Kelce, for example, we all know he's kind of old. We know he is not quite the same right now, but his longest reception total, I think 13.5. Like, okay, he's going to get that just by running and turning around, and Patrick will find him wide open. Like that, those weird numbers. Okay, I trust that. And sure enough, he gets a 50-yard longest reception or something like that. Is when he's not killing his own receivers on crossing routes, he's still able to get it done in a lot of these situations. DJ,
before I let you go, I want to give you a chance to let everyone know where they can find you. I know you do multiple podcasts. Like I said, pleasure and honor having you, but let people know where they can get you and when your shows are, where they're at. But also, is there a game or two week 2 as well that you're already kind of focused on that you like so far?
I'll start with that part. Week 2, the game that I can't wait for. It's the Monday night. It's the week 2 capper. I love the Raiders and the Chargers. The Raiders were my sleeper team in the preseason. I love everything they did. You improve so much at coach and quarterback. That's always a good sign. Ashton Genty had 44 yards after contact and 38 total yards last week. That's not going to happen again. Like, he's not going to get hit that often in the backfield. Brock Bowers is awesome. Jacoby Myers is still awesome. And their defense was finally more than helpless. Max Crosby are our only hope. Other guys actually got involved in the action. So I love that game with the Raiders and the Chargers. Winners in a commanding spot in the AFC West, too. The Chiefs being the only team to lose. The Broncos, we'll see those two teams. It's a very interesting spot. So that's the one I can't wait for. And it's set at -+3. So I think there's some options there. That's one I'm taking. Oh, we're not taking.
And the Chargers were in Brazil. They might still be speaking Portuguese. Who knows?
There's something magical when a star quarterback starts dating a superstar girlfriend. We saw it with Pat. We've seen it with Josh Allen last year. We saw it with Tom Brady multiple times. We saw it with Tony Romo. Something magic happens when. So Justin Herbert is next. So he's on his MVP run. But for our show with me and my co-host Kelsey, you can catch us at High Low Sports on all social medias. We go live on X and Facebook every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Our full episode will be uploaded to the Belly Up YouTube page the next day if you missed it. We also have our own YouTube page where we upload different episodes, betting. That's where I do a lot of the UFC betting and things that I do there as well. So go ahead and follow us on High Low Sports Everything. Feel free to interact, comment. We like to do fantasy betting, a little bit of everything in between, some rants and some recaps. We got some things to rant about this week, like Patrick Mahomes lowering his shoulder on the sideline after he's given up and then running over 110-pound defensive backs when he's given up on the play. As a former offensive lineman, my co-host has some words to say about that. He's not too thrilled about it. So we have a lot of fun. We like to summarize it as rants, recaps, and rankings, but in a reasonable way. It's not always screaming, yelling debate shows. It's very good discourse, kind of like what we've had here today, where it's a good back and forth. It's not screaming, yelling, disrespect like you might see in other places.
That's what's called doing it the right way, DJ. Listen, it was a pleasure having you on. I can't wait to have you on again. Make sure everyone checks him out at High Low Sports. You got his Twitter, social media tags at high_low_sports. DJ, to a great week too. Thanks so much for being here. And I'm coming for that gaming chair, not in a bad way. I just want it.
Hey, thank you so much. And you know what? It's all yours for the right price of $59.99. I'll have it sent your way. But I appreciate you so much for having me.
$59.99. DJ, thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much. You as well.
What a guy, DJ. I'm telling you, I got that gamer chair. Now, I love people like him, and that's what this show's all about because, we're going to have various different guests on. He'll definitely be on again. Big Draft Energy will have on again. It's all about building community. And like, I'm not a streamer. I'm, not to say that streamers are bad or anything. Just I'm not like a streamer like some people that do this stuff for fantasy. I think Big Draft Energy, Disco for Big Draft Energy did like a 24-hour stream for charity, which is amazing. But like some of these people will do 600, 700 drafts. Some people will, do different various streams. I'm more of a traditional broadcaster, but I want to marry all that stuff on this show, talk about fantasy. That's why, by the way, Chef Onabi, and he came back in when I was giving him crap. And obviously I was kidding when I said, if you ask a question, let us answer it. He's like, oh man, I didn't mean to sound like a blank. I just realized how it came off. No, we love you, Chef. But we're going to talk about that stuff on this show. We're going to talk about, analytics, like obviously DJ just did. But I want it to be, like I said, educational as well. If you have questions about betting, questions about fantasy, questions about BullRush Survivor contest, questions about, same game parlays, whatever it is, there are people that are going to be watching the show that are experts like we are. There are people that are going to be watching the show that are brand new. Like I have a website called DGMSquatchmix.club that I've been giving out picks for years now. I had someone that signed up, this really nice girl that I met somewhere in a game or something, brand new to betting, but loves it and like wants to obviously beat her son in betting. So I always answer questions for people like that. I want you to feel the same way about this show, even if it's just a random, NFL question from the 80s. I don't care. Obviously, I'm not going to read every question, but as long as it's something that's worthy of being talked about, we want you to feel like you're part of the show. My great producer, I was going to bring him on today, but unfortunately, he's lit unlike a Christmas tree. So next week, we'll have Davin on. He's amazing. He's always on the ones and twos, making sure we have all the different comments coming through, all the things popping up on the screen. So I got to thank him immensely. It's a true joy to work with him. But we want this show to be about all of you. So thank you for watching this show, because that's what it's all about. It's all about, obviously I could talk for 5 straight hours, but if we don't have an interaction and you're not, enjoying being part of this process, then I don't want, the show's not, it's not special to me. Special to me when I know that people care. And that's what I've kind of tried to do with all the shows I've done. They're a long and varied legendary broadcasting career. My dad says in my own head. No, I've been doing this since I was in high school. And I'm 48 now, so it's been a long time. I think I look great for 48, by the way. Down 6 pounds, walked like 12 miles in New York. And, like I said, I almost look as good as DJ. A few things I wanted to get to before we get into my Squatch same game Monday Night Parlay and a couple other things before we get out of here tonight, because we're getting close to Monday Night Football. Don't want you to miss the pregame or anything. That's why we love that 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. slot right here before everything kind of gets going. Where I left off was with the Cam Ward stuff. I thought he looked solid. I think Cam Ward's going to be great. Washington. We talked about it on this show for the last several weeks. I've got a Commanders, Bills, exact Super Bowl matchup pick at 40-1. I've got Commanders to win the Super Bowl. I've got Jaden Daniels MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. I thought it was hilarious to see a lot of people using, like, they'll do articles like who's over, hyped, who's underhyped. I saw a lot of people say that Washington was going to lose game one to the Giants. They weren't going to be a good team. Listen, once again, overreaction Monday. It's 1 week. The Commanders are Super Bowl worthy. I think they're going to win that division. Yes, I mean, obviously Philly's got a great chance too, but I think somebody tells me they're going to win that division, be a higher seed than the Eagles, host possibly, I don't know if they're going to be the 1 seed, but maybe like last year, the Lions obviously lost at home. If you're a Lions fan, you hope they obviously are the 1 seed. I think Washington, the NFC might go through them. I think that's how good they are. I really do. And I think Jaden Daniels is that good as well. Eckler, they've got a good defense. That team is for real. And I've seen so many people say they're going to fail. They're going to miss the playoffs. They're not that good of a team. Daniels will have a sophomore regression. Well, all that is possible. They sure didn't look like that against the Giants team that played a lot better than I thought they were going to play. And we'll see what the Commanders do in these first, let's say the quarter pole of the season, which I think is it's like 40 baseball games. They've got a game at Green Bay on Prime Video, the Thursday night Amazon game. That's this week's game. Home against the Raiders, at the Falcons, at the Chargers, home against the Bears. That's their first 6 weeks. I think they're going to win 4 of those games. I think they can win 5 of those games. And if they're 4-2 or 5-1 after that stretch, or let's say that first 4 stretch of the quarter pole, if they're 3-1, which I think they probably will be. I mean, that Falcons game could be a little tricky. They should be out in the Raiders at home. They're probably going to lose to the Packers. But I could see Jaden Daniels having a huge game and then winning that game under the lights on Thursday night. I'm all about the Commanders. They're definitely, in my opinion, Super Bowl worthy. Me and DJ kind of touched on the Battle for Ohio, a game that will not be sent to the NFL Hall of Fame anytime soon or ever. But since he finally wins an early game, I believe it was the first time they'd won an early game in, I think it was 4 years or longer than that. It had been a long time since they'd won a week 1 game. I'm sorry, I don't have the stat in front of me. But they barely won it. But I think Cincinnati is going to get through those early season, drubbings and doldrums where they've obviously had a lot of issues in the past starting well. They had started a little better last year. They would have had a better seed. Maybe could have gone further in the playoffs. But I am still very high on the Bengals. You look at their schedule. They've got the Jaguars at home. They're going to beat Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville looked pretty good against a bad Carolina team. They're at the Vikings the following week and then at the Broncos. So they get some tests early on. Then they play my Lions in Cincinnati and then at the Packers. So that's a big 6-week stretch. We'll see where they are after that. But I think for them, it's kind of a good thing that they started with a familiar opponent in the Battle of Ohio, but they get good Vikings, Broncos, Lions, and Packers teams 4 weeks in a row. Not that they weren't like focused and woken up when it came to the first 4 weeks of the last several years, but for whatever reason, they were just kind of stunned and kind of hung over early in seasons. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think Cincy is going to have another big year. And are the Rams for real? Can Stafford be super worthy? I've seen so many differing opinions on the Rams. Stafford's too old. I don't think, the Rams don't have the kind of team that they needs to get on a run. I watched much of that game against the Texans, and I don't know what's going on with the Texans. They should be better too. I like the Rams a lot in the NFC West. Obviously, the Niners are the class. Seattle should be interesting. It's a very Arizona's kind of a question mark. I really like the Rams. And I think that that's a team that's going to get better as the season goes on. Obviously, I got a soft spot in my heart for Matthew Stafford, who's my longtime quarterback here in Detroit. But listen, the guy might be 37 going on 38 years old. He looks great. I thought he had a solid game in very big moments against the Texans to hang out and win that thing yesterday. It could have definitely gone the other way if the bad Stafford reared his ugly head. He was 21-29 for a touchdown, 245 yards. Williams did have a huge game. He did have a touch, but he had 66 yards. But how about Puka Nacua? He went out of the game for a minute with an injury, came back, 10 receptions for 130 yards. By the way, Stroud only threw for 188. I love that kid, even though he's a Buckeye. I don't know what's going on with him in Houston. He's got to be better. But I'm big on the Rams. I actually bet him on a long shot Super Bowl bet. I think I bet $25 to win $1,000 with a boost that I used. So we'll see what happens with the Rams, but it's a team I'm going to be watching and focused on all season long. Also, I wonder, and if you are, just throw it in the comments. I didn't get a chance to watch Red Zone yesterday because I mentioned I was at a VIP. Not to like trying to brag, VIP. I am VIP. It's funny, when I was at the U.S. Open, I got one of the last 2 tickets because they just released some seats. And there's this guy from Austria who was referring to VIP as VIP. He's like, I got the VIP trip to the Euro Championships. I'm like, VIP? I guess that's what they say in Europe. But I was, in a room where they had all the games on. So I didn't get a chance to watch Red Zone. I just wonder if people are mad about the commercials. Because as far as I know, it was 4 15-second commercials throughout the whole 7 hours. If that's all it was, and they still went side by side, why the hell would you care? 4 15-second commercials? Now, maybe down the road it becomes 8 15-second commercials or, 6 30-second commercials. But as long as they keep Red Zone on the screen, like when you're watching a horse race, they go to commercial when they're, doing the post parade. As long as or the Indy races or whatever it is, like golf, on CBS, as long as they keep Red Zone on the screen, show the freaking commercials. People were freaking out about that. It's modern days. People got to make money. I mean, these companies are losing tons of money because they're losing customers. As long as we get the 7 full hours of Red Zone, which I love with Scott Hansen. I've met Scott. He's a great dude. He's incredible what he does. Who cares about 2 minutes of commercials? People are nuts. All right. I do want to throw this out there. A couple things before we get out of here. We're always going to preview the game tonight. And I mentioned that there's going to be certain games. I'm always going to be fully transparent. There's going to be certain games that I really love as far as giving out a play for the Monday night game. Other games I'm not going to tell. I'm going to tell you, listen, I think this is what's going to happen, but I wouldn't necessarily bet it myself, or at least bet it heavily. Tonight, I love this game. And I love the Vikings. I know we had a Bears guy in the chat earlier. I think J.J. McCarthy and Jefferson and that Vikings offense is going to come out and score a crap ton of points. The Bears, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, they've obviously got pieces on their side as well. You're catching positive money on the money line, 1.5 if you want to lay the juice to 110. And I think this is just a perfect spot for a masterful coach in O'Connell, who's obviously won Coach of the Year before for a reason. I think they win this game on the road. I think the Bears are overhyped. That, along with the Broncos, were 2 of the big plays I gave you on unders as far as win totals go. I think the Bears are still worth 8.5. To me, I think the Vikings, Lions, and Packers are the 3 best teams. The Bears still have a lot to prove to me, even though they played better at times later in the year last season. And I love Caleb Williams. I think he's a stud and will be a superstar. I love the Vikings, but we're always going to give a Squatch same game Monday Night Football parlay. And this is what I got for you. And speaking of alt lines, this is what it's all about when you want to take a little less payout, but more of a solid play. Jefferson, obviously, is over under receiving yards is at 60, so you have to lay a little cash here. This parlay will pay out about 5.5 to 1. 5 to 5.5 to 1. You can see that plus 524 based on where you bet it. I like Jefferson 60 yards or more. J.J. McCarthy to go over 200 passing yards. T.J. Hockenson to have 4 more receptions. He always is good as long as he stays healthy for 5, 6, or 7. DeAndre Swift, who they love to use out of the backfield in Chicago, to have 2 or more receptions. And Colston Loveland, my hero from the Wolverines, this has nothing to do with being a Michigan fan. They love him, absolutely love him in Chicago. I think he's going to have a huge game, much like Tyler Warren did in his rookie appearance for the Colts yesterday. I should have taken him instead of Downs. I thought I was being smart there. But I think they have got an incredible tight end in Colston Loveland, who is a stud for the Wolverines. So you make that parlay right there, and you get 5 to 1 on 5 plays. Throw it in there and cash that ticket. By the way, Zach Davis weighing in saying, dude, the Lions might be trash. It's week 1. Week 1, friends. And yes, man, you know what? The Bills might be trash. Obviously, that's unlikely. I think it's unlikely the Lions are trash too. Let's see what they do. Dan Campbell basically guaranteed a win against the Bears. I can't believe he did that, like Lomas Brown did back in the day against the Eagles in the playoffs. For the Lions, was like 54-20. But the Lions are going to beat Chicago, I think. And obviously, it'd be better for me if the Bears, better for the Lions. If the Bears won, and we're like hungry, about to go 0-2. If they lose to the Vikings, I think the Vikings win tonight. So I'm not, I don't care. It doesn't matter what I think about the Lions. It's 1 week. But yes, could the Lions be trash? They could. Here is my 4 plays that I'm looking at for week 2 in the NFL. Titans. The Tennessee Titans. I love what I saw out of Cam Ward in his first ever game. I think he gets better. In week number 2, he played against one of the best defenses in the NFL in Denver and still looked pretty good. They almost won that game. Tennessee, this coming week, with a easier defensive matchup, the Rams still have a good defense, not like it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, especially with the Super Bowl. That game is in Tennessee. They're catching 5.5. I've seen actually that line move from 6.5 to 5.5 back and forth. I love buying the Titans up to 7.5 off that key number. I still don't even like it at 5.5, but be safe. It's early in Cam Ward's career. Catching 7 and hook at home doesn't get much better than that. Also, I talked about the Bengals. Like, they're going to have a nice start to this season early on. They host the Jaguars, who obviously look great against, in my opinion, bad Carolina team. They're laying 3.5. I want you to buy through that. And for if you're someone that's new, I think, seasoned bettors know this. You want to buy through key numbers 3, 7, 10. I mean, think about how 7 points for a touchdown, 3 points for a field goal. That's why these key numbers are the same over and over again. Those are the main key numbers. Obviously, 3 and 7 are for college and pro football. I would buy through it just because I could see Cincy winning a close game with a Jaguars team that is looking good on offense. But, I mean, I might even lay the 3.5 and not to pay the juice. I like Cincy to win that game. If you're putting in a parlay, maybe do the money line, but I would buy it down to -2.5. I like Cincy at home against the Jags. Lions money line, Dan Campbell guaranteed you. I'm not laying any points. It's 4.5. It's that weird spread that kind of invites you in to, lay the 4.5 and the Lions, try to win by 7 or 10. The Bears have played the Lions tough at Ford Field often in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. They could get a backdoor cover. I would take the money line. It's a 225 right now. I think it's going to actually go down closer to game day. So obviously you got to lay 200 to win 100 or put it in a parlay. But I think the Lions are winning that game. That might be a survivor league pick for me as well, which I went 4-0 in, by the way, in a different kind of survivor pool. We'll get to the BullRush one in a second. And then speaking of my man DJ's Colts, the Colts, they've got an interesting matchup against Denver. In Indy, they're getting 2.5. The Colts are. Buy it up to 3.5 through that key number, and I'm going to have some sprinkles on the money line if it goes up to 125 or bigger. Right now, it's a very, very shady plus 116. It should be higher than that for a 2.5-point spread, which basically tells me the sharps are on the Colts. And I'm a sharp, so I'm on the Colts. Those are the 4 plays I'm looking for week number 2. As I want to mention again, big shout out to the first 3 places for the BullRush Survivor. You got Vixa in first, Teofil in second, and Mastermind in third. But this is the coolest thing. If you missed getting into the Survivor pool, you still can get it even though registration is closed with a $20 NFL Survivor satellite play. It's $20 to get in. Don't forget, use the code EDGE for a $5 sign-up bonus, so it's really $15. And the top 10 get a free entry into the next round of the $100,000 NFL Survivor, which obviously is going on right now. First place, $50,000. Second place, $20,000. Third place, $10,000. And just to briefly, if you haven't heard this before, and we've got ads for this on the BullRush website, as well as the YouTube page and all different channels. Think of a Survivor pool where, traditionally you would pick one team. You can only use them once, and they got to win for you to advance. This is $100,000 in virtual money each week that resets. And all you got to do is have a minimum of 2 bet slips. You can bet $50,000 on one team, $50,000 on another, 99,000 or 99,000 on one team, $1 on another, and bet whatever you want. You could bet touchdowns, player props, 16-leg parlays. You could do 5,000 different dollar parlays, whatever the heck you want to do. All you got to do is be in the top 80%. They've got all the lines and props on the BullRush site, so please check that out. $20 Survivor satellite contest to get into the big one. It's like if you're a poker player, you can basically get into the World Series of Poker main event for free by winning satellites. That's what this is. If you're in the top 10, you get a free entry into the next round. You're already pushed through to this, ongoing NFL Survivor with the top prize of $50,000 after week 20, after it's all said and done. So please check that out. All right, that's going to do it for us here today. Big thanks to my man DJ from High Low Sports and Belly Up Sports. Huge thanks to Devonshire, the finest producer in all the land, but most importantly, to each and every one of you. We will be here every Sunday, Everybody, sorry, it's been a long week of traveling and craziness and awesomeness. Every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. There might be some changing of that here and there based on some things that could come up, but we'll 99% of the time be here live with you at 6 p.m. on every Monday night before Monday Night Football. So please check us out, share us on your socials, check out the Survivor contest, but know how much we care about each and every one of you. So until next time, I'm Dan Leach, the Squatch, saying keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. We'll see you next week right around the Monday Night Edge with Dan Leach, powered by BullRush. Until then, believe in the dream. I'm out of here.
You want a shot at $50,000 in cold, hard cash? Well, BullRush just dropped a new sports comp, the NFL Survivor. And the total prize pool, a massive $100,000. First place gets 50 grand, straight up. Think you got the picks to survive 20 weeks? Here's how it works. Start each week with a 100K fantasy bankroll. Make picks using real NFL odds. Place in the top 80% and you survive. Below that, you're out. Your bankroll resets each week, so a bad week doesn't kill your season. Make it to week 20, and you and all the other survivors split the entire $100,000. You want the bag? Prove it. Join NFL Survivor only on BullRush.
Another 6